The high street has changed over the past few years, with big chains going under and closing more chains. You may have noticed more new businesses have opened, such as independent record shops, coffee shops, nail salons, tattoo studios, and even independent clothing stores. This is Scout Vintage, a vintage clothing store in Sunderland, which opened last year. We spoke to the owner of the shop, Angela Kirkley.
The first 6 months were a pleasant surprise, really, because it takes a little while for you to get known. It takes a while for, word of mouth and that sort of thing to go around, and to sort of get yourself established and to work out what kind of things are moving and what's popular and what isn't. So getting your stock right initially is quite tricky. But been open for about 8 or 9 months now, so I'm quite pleased with the way it's going in general. I'm a fan of sort of nostalgia anyway. The 80s and the 70s were great times for bands and things. People just were very experimental then with their looks, and especially sort of when you think of the New Romantics and punk and all of that sort of thing. So they've all got sort of good, happy memories for me. But the vintage thing, things were made differently then. They were much better quality. A lot of them were made in England, which you don't really get very much anymore. They're made to last.
Despite the tough economy, the number of independents has risen every year since 2009. In fact, over 31,000 independents opened and closed in 2013 alone.
I used to work for Woolworths. I was a manager for Woolworths. I ran a store that had a £12 million a year turnover, and I had a couple of hundred staff. So when I left Woolworths, just before the whole chain had closed down, we moved back down here. Decided to run my own business. Woolworths in Sunderland had closed at the time. There was no Woolworths here, and there was a huge gap in the confectionery market. And I looked around, I saw there was plenty of people who were doing the usual Cadbury's, Mars, Kraft, the usual stuff you find everywhere, Mars bars, Twixes, blah. But no one was doing anything to do with traditional sweets. So I thought, yeah, that's what I'll do. Best selling thing we have here is sarsaparilla tablets, which is good old Sunderland sweet. I have a number of suppliers for sarsaparilla tablets. One in particular, wonder what we do with them all, because I'm more than say, 1 jar of this, 2 jars of that, 2 jars of this, and I go for 42 jars of sarsaparilla. And they say, well, what do you do with them up there? And I said, well, it's just one of these things that's passed on here from generation to generation, and the sarsaparilla is the archetypical Sunderland sweet.
Although there is still a 20% vacancy rate on the high street, we might soon be seeing more independent stores than brand name chain stores.